There's a team that's been working together on our 7-week series, and we had the opportunity to choose our theme, which I just shared, co-creating a bright future, and that means a different thing to everyone. To me, it means opening, light, and doing some things differently. Ooh, ooh, ooh. We're studying the book, The 5 Levels of Attachment by Don Miguel Ruiz. And I know many of you have studied the book, The 4 Agreements. And Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. is the son of the author of The 4 Agreements, his first son. And I've had the opportunity to meet him, to host him at my Unity Ministry in West Lynn. And he is a wonderful speaker, and he shares, I think, some of the best work on the planet today. We don't like to talk about our attachments. Would you agree with that? Yes. And last week we talked about what's the difference between perfection. How many of us carry around this perfectionist in our minds and then constantly didn't make it? Constantly are upset. And measurement. Our planet is based on measurement. You want a better deal. You want a better house. You want a better spouse. And we're always looking for the next thing, the next thing. So today I'm going to be talking about perspective. Perspective has to do with how we were raised. I teasingly talked about Paul, my husband, growing up in Montana with over 1,000 sheep on, a huge ranch, 8 children, totally different life than my life in St. Louis with the symphony. Worlds apart, worlds apart. Now, many times we look at things and we separate them by right and wrong. Yes? Could be. Some of us. Like food. Anyone have an attachment to food you don't like? Okay. And food you do like. And often that happens in the same house. Have you noticed that? I used to use this little thing about peas and corn. And in the Midwest, when I was growing up, that was really what we had, peas and corn. And we'd be talking with my friends as we were becoming teenagers, and you'd visit their house or whatever. They served peas and I only ate corn. So here's that situation of this is right and that is wrong. So when we look at cars, as we look at clothing, as we look at decorating, as we look at so many things, we have a perspective. Right or wrong. Now, most of us think our perspective starts with the R. Right. My perspective is right. And yours, well, I'm sorry, you're not enlightened. Let me pray for you. So that sense of perspective has come with us throughout our life. And whether you're young or old, it creates a view of what the world is. And we make judgments and decisions based on those perspectives. We make decisions based on those perspectives. And have you noticed not everyone agrees? I've just noticed. And as you go through life, you work with people, you're in a community with people, and there you are, likes and dislikes. How attached are we to our likes or dislikes? So I heard a few comments about the chairs. Just a few about the chairs. Now, I have, many of you know, I've been a minister forever, and I've been in many different places in the country. The last ministry that I pioneered with 3 people grew and grew, and I changed the chairs all the time. Sometimes our gathering place now looks out on a beautiful garden, and it's a window all windows. So the audience was looking out at this beautiful garden. One day they came in and the chairs were facing the wall. And they just looked at me, how long is this going to last? I said, well, we did a whole series facing the wall because sometimes in life we feel like we're facing a wall. Yeah. The view is not always beautiful. So that was a great lesson. I asked Georgie about if it was okay to move chairs. And Georgie said to me, oh, I always move chairs. I move chairs. You couldn't move chairs in a way that I haven't moved them. So Diane and Sue, wherever Sue is. Oh, Sue's downstairs. Great, with the kids. So Diane and Sue and I were moving chairs. And I talked to Diane later, and she said, we never move chairs on Sundays. Okay. I didn't have that piece of information. So here we are. I happen to like it. Maybe you don't. That's okay. So now we go from perspective to how we actually measure our ability to let go of our attachments. So mustard or ketchup on a hot dog, I can let that go. What kind of car? Maybe. Where I live in the country? What kind of books I read? What are the things that stop us from changing? Usually what stops us from changing is fear. Fear of experiencing something new. Going to a new restaurant, I get the same thing over and over. Do I try something new? Or do I expand my palate? Or do I focus on things I can, starts with a T, R-U-S-T, trust, things I can trust. Anyone? Are you considering staying with what you know, or are you willing to take a chance? Change. Okay. That's a unity way of thinking. We're willing to take a chance, a different way of thinking. So from perspective to my bigger view, how do I look into the world in a bigger way? How do I work with people that think differently than I do? It's not easy. It's in a working relationship. It's in a spiritual community. Some people are attached to a certain way of doing things. Once again, every unity ministry is different. Every unity ministry is different. And we love that. And not everyone does. You walk into some place, there are some people that keep trying to get us to be all the same. And most ministers resist that. I'm just saying. So he goes on, Miguel Ruiz Jr., is to talk about your personal dream, your dream for yourself. What is your dream for yourself? What kind of life are you creating? What kind of relationships are you creating? What kind of view do you have of the world? That's an individual thing. Now, many of us feel like people try to talk us out of our view of the world. However, identifying your personal view of the world is helpful. Now, it may be based on your perspectives of when you were growing up. Have you changed, or do you still have that same perspective? Have you grown into new perceptions? Now, perceptions are different than perspectives. I'm into P's today, I'm just saying. Perspectives are based on past experiences. Perceptions are based on where I am now. What do I perceive? Do I perceive that as a threat? Do I perceive that as something new? And once again, it can be about anything. It's where I'm standing in the moment and what is my view of life. What do I perceive? And when I am afraid of change, I perceive fear. I create fear. I live in fear because that's my perception. So we all have a personal dream, and we can dream personally of something where we want to live, where we want a vacation, what kind of partner we want, what kind of spiritual community do we want to be part of. And that is based on our individual perceptions. Then we bring individual perceptions together and we try to create soup or stew or filet mignon. And usually we have a little elbow rubbing and little, I don't know what I think about that, scratching my head. So just being aware that that's my personal dream. That doesn't have to be anyone else's personal dream. We honor everyone's personal dream, even if I don't agree with it. Moment of silence. Now, when we go into realizing we have the ability to create our dream of our lives, we get to choose. And sometimes we made choices we wish we didn't, but we get to back away, and we get to change, and we get to head in another direction. When we come together on a dream for the world, how do we do that? Because you have your personal dream, I have mine, I have my perceptions, you have your perceptions, and they can be entirely opposite. Have you noticed? Have you noticed? Yeah, all right, I've noticed. Even if we're sitting in this room, we might have opposite perceptions and dreams. So how do we create community? Don Miguel Ruiz talks about that we are all in communion with each other, whether we want to be or not. The energy field is moving in and out and around and swirling, and we're all connected. Our cells, our molecules, the ethers, that's what Charles Fillmore called it, the ethers bind us together. The visible and the invisible. So in the ethers, we are connected. We can't see it. I don't have a little tag that goes to Randy, but it's there. So how do we create community? How do we create unity? By coming together with different perspectives and ways of looking at things. Is that a question? I think so. And it's a question we want to look at with harmony and respect. How do we do that with harmony and respect? Because most of the time we do it with judgment. I don't agree. I don't like that. That don't work for me. Anyone never said that, I'm sure, in this room. That doesn't work for me. No, I don't know you ever said that. But that sense of I'm right. And if I'm right and you don't agree with me, that means you're wrong. And most of us think it's somebody else's fault that we're not in harmony. It's them. How do we create us? This is what our 7-week series is about. How do we create us? Keep our individuality. Keep our dreams, personal dreams. Keep our perceptions and create an us where everyone is heard, respected, and there is harmony. I'm asking the question, are we willing to do that? Yes. I'm willing. So there are steps to take then. We have to look at those, and next week we start to really go into the levels of attachment. How much do I hold on to this or that? We come from different backgrounds, different parts of the country. Some of you have lived across the world, traveled across the world. We've seen different things, experienced different things. How do we find oneness? How do we find the place where we all go, oh, that includes all of us. That includes all of us. I'm going to tell a brief little story. I'm very involved in interfaith and interculture, and I've talked about that before. I'm the chair of the team for Worldwide Ministries. And about 4 years ago, my friend Kathy and I went to the Parliament of World Religions in Toronto, Ontario. Now, there were over 10,000 people there. I mean, it was humongous. We got an Airbnb. We walked. We were about 10 blocks from the convention center. And every religion you could think of, and some you don't even know about, was at the World Parliament of Religions. And it was fascinating. The clothing, the colors, the smells, and everyone was doing programs and projects, and it was, you can't even describe it. It was just breathtaking. The ideas that came from Scandinavia, and children and music and food. It was lifetime, a dream of a lifetime. Now, Kathy and I had gone to many different workshops. She went one way, I went another. We ended up exhausted, and there was a little counter that said you could get drinks. We got a root beer. And we sat down at this table sitting next to 3 people. Actually, I knew those people. How does that happen? 10,000 people, and I think his name's Mark Horowitz from Portland, Oregon, a Jewish interfaith leader was sitting at that table. How does that happen? I don't know. Doesn't that just make you scratch your head? And he had been married to my good friend, June Moriatsu. And we talked, and it was just like, and then he left, and other people left, and there was a huge man, 6'4", at least, sitting there by himself at this table. So Kathy and I just went, hi, we're blah, 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 and we're from blah, blah, blah. And he just looked at us, and he went, hello. We said, hello. And we asked a few questions. Eventually, he told us that he lives in the utmost top of North America at a village, fishing village of 20 people. And he was at the Parliament of World Religions. And he has the title of being chief of water for all of Canada. He is the chief. And he speaks and travels, and he had just come back from the Paris Accords on climate change. I'm like, okay, all right. Now, he invited us every morning at the Parliament. They had a ceremony, and they lit the fire at dawn. And the indigenous people came together, and other people came, and he invited us to come. Now, I'm just going to tell you my little attachments. I do not like to get up at 3 a.m. That is not, as Paul would tell you, that is not my, And we were walking, it was like 30 degrees. I wore every piece of clothing I had brought. And Kathy from Alaska thought this was great. So we get there, and we are the only people there. There's no one else there. It's a big open field. No one's there. Now, 2 men crawl out of a tent, and they start pulling wood together, and I'm going, Kathy, let's go. Let's go. It's got no place to sit. It's going to be okay. Kathy, 10 minutes later, let's go. 10 minutes, nobody's there. Nobody's there. It's pitch black dark. Kathy, we're not going. Okay. Eventually, they got the fire going. A few people came. At the end, there were hundreds and hundreds of people there. And this wonderful man, they created a circle, the drumming, the chanting, all the music going, and the sun came out, and I had tears. And that is my dream of the world. That is my dream of the world. Now, if you've ever been to a Native American circle, which I've been many times, they do a welcome song. And whoever the head of the drumming circle or whoever's in charge that night or day will go around and shake everyone's hand. So he went around, hundreds of people now, and he kissed Kathy and I on the cheek, hugged us. We were the only people he hugged, and told us, thank you for coming. Now, that is my dream of the world. Respect, harmony, and connection. Now, if we can do it there, we can do it here, and we can do it everywhere. If we can do it there, we can do it here, and we can do it everywhere. However, what does it take? Letting go of attachments, letting go of right and wrong, letting go of fear of change, letting go of, make a list. Not enough, not good enough, we could make a list. So I just wanted to share that with you. Kathy and I then were freezing, went into the coffee shop, no place to sit, and we ended up sitting with a man and his mother from Shanghai, China, who we have corresponded with. I mean, really, that is my dream of the world. We can create that here. We can create that here. We can reach out beyond our walls, our community, our congregation, and we can connect in ways. We can have Native American drumming here. We can have creative classes for all ages. We can be part of the dream of the world. As we look at, what are we afraid of? What are we holding on to? What are we saying yes but to? Well, maybe, if only. Anyone know it? If only? Anyone know that phrase? So what we are going to do now is we are moving into meditation. Oh, I went too far. Garth only wants me to stand in the middle. We are going to pass out cards. Diane and someone else, I don't know who that is. We are passing out cards, and we're going to ask you to write on one side of the card. There's another basket. And we're going to ask you to write on one side of the card something you're attached to. Well, not the whole list. And on the back, your intention. What would you like that to reverse to? Yes. Yes. Attachment to release. It might be fear. It might be a negative thought. It might be a judgment. Pens. We have pens coming. Could we have a little noodling? Thank you. And on the back, please write your intention. If you let that go, what would you like to move to next? So if I let go of my fear, I'd like to create joy. If I'm going to let go of whatever it is, and on the opposite side, I write my new intention. I could make things up, but I don't want to. It can be about something big or something little. Fear of the homeless, fear of illness. I'm attached to, and it's an attachment that stands in your way of your spiritual growth. And then on the other side, words of intention, a positive thought, positive words of what you would like to replace that negative thought or perspective. Remember, we talked about a perspective from childhood or a bad experience you call bad in your life. Can you let that go so you can come to a place of harmony? Maybe you have a prejudice. I talked about this to myself today. Sometimes Victoria tells her own Sunday lesson to herself. And I was thinking about prejudice. Some things really are a prejudice. And we don't really know what created it. But we have a judgment, and it goes deeper than just a casual judgment. Could be based on anger or an experience. So when you've created that, I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes. And if anything else comes to you, and this is what often happens to me, I start at one level and then, oh yeah, and then there's that, and then there's that. And so just let that roll without judgment. No one here knows what you wrote on that piece of paper. This is private. I am willing to release. Let's say it together. I am willing to release that which stands in the way of my spiritual growth. That which stands in the way of my spiritual growth. I am ready. So we take some time in the quiet. This ministry has taken on the challenge of 24 hours of prayer. As a ministry and as individuals, we let go of the past. That which no longer works. And we open ourselves to newness, new ideas. And in your personal life, opening yourself to whatever you desire. Physical healing, emotional healing, financial abundance. Let's sit in the silence together. Take one more deep breath and let it go. Grief, dependency, misunderstanding. I let it go. And now we come to a place. We did the work. We did the work. And as the week progresses, I invite you to take that card, put it on your kitchen table, on your bedside table, in your purse or in your wallet. And every once in a while, just go, oh yeah, oh yeah. And of course, you might add to that list what you're ready to release. It may become apparent to you that there are things that are standing in your way of your greater good based on your perspective and perceptions.